So anyway, welcome to week 7. Boy, can you believe it? It's already week 7? This is going by so fast. Next week we have, well, this week is all about PEMF for dogs. And I also want to talk to you guys about a marketing case study that I've done and let you know what we've done. And I think that there's a lot of insight in there that may be able to help you guys market your business too. We really haven't done anything, out of the ordinary, just basic marketing. But I think that taking you through what we've done with Roxanne and her Pulse Center down in Chattanooga will help you too. So at the end of this, if we've got time, I'll just take you through what we've done with Roxanne and her marketing and how it's helped her. Now she has a Pulse Center for people, and it's a regular retail business, so it's a little different than the people that are kind of going out of their house and going and treating people. But one thing that I've found that in working with Sam and doing more of her therapy, there really is, I think the easiest way to get your business going is to go out to a show. If you go to a show, people are there and they have a real motivation for getting treated and having their horse or dog perform better. And you have a great concentration of people, and getting a brochure, there really is nothing better than getting a brochure and just walking around and telling people, this is what I say, literally. I mean, it's like, hi, I do PEMF here at the show, and have you ever tried anything like that? And I stick out my hand with the brochure, and generally they'll take it and they'll say yes or no. And if they say yes, I say, well, hey, how did it work for you? And if they say, oh, it's good, so well, then do you want to try it here while we're at the show? I come right to you. I do it in the stalls, and you'd be surprised how many times they'll just say yes. I would love to. Or if they say no, well, it really didn't work that well, then I say, well, there's a lot of people that don't really understand the technology, and we've been able to have a protocol that really works, and then you can start to talk to them about the benefits. As I was walking around, I was noticing I was saying like healing, accelerated healing, and I'm like, that really is not a good benefit to talk to someone about when they're at a show, because they don't have anything that needs healing. When you're at a show, the thing that really resonates with people is like, it helps performance, it helps your horse recover faster, and people really love that. Like, it recover faster, gets the lactic acid out of their system, helps them recover faster so that they move better. They just have a better range of motion, and it just is a really pretty picture. And a lot of people say that the horses really feel soft and supple and have a lot more energy. And then you just say, is that something you'd like to try? Or have you tried that? And you'll be surprised how many people just go, they'll either start to, or they'll look at it and go, okay, thank you. And then I just off to the next. And a lot of people, you just give it to them. Hey, I'm doing PEMF here at the show. I come to you, do it right in your stall, and here's my brochure. Turn around, walk out, and like 20 minutes later, I'll get a call. Oh yeah, you dropped your brochure off. Can you come treat my horse? And so you think, oh, they weren't even that interested at first, but yet, they may have been into something. And you really just, if you don't worry about the results, don't worry about whether or not, oh, did they like it, they didn't like it, or whatever. You're just going out there, handing out brochures, telling people what you do, and moving on to the next, and trying to get through the entire show. Really cover the entire show. And then just sit and you can wait for your phone to ring, because it will just start ringing, and people will and every day go around and do it again. So if the show is, and try to do that before you start treating your animals, and try to get through the whole show. And it's okay if you hit somebody the second time, oh yeah, you already gave me that. You're like, okay, thanks. You kind of make a little joke of it and keep going. But you'll be surprised also about how many times you'll go through a show, and then the next day you'll go through and you'll meet an entirely new group of people that were you know, doing something the first time you went through. So you know, the best thing is really just to keep going through the show and passing out your brochures. And if you, like, I leave them on tack trunks or in tack rooms, and I get multiple calls with people that, oh yeah, you left your brochure. How much is your treatment? And encourage people to text you, because people love the text. And if you can get numbers of trainers or whatever, you see large barns on the stall, they say, you know, here's the trainer. If there's an emergency, call this number. Just get the number and text them and say, hey, I'm doing PMF here at the show. Text me back if you want to schedule a treatment. And you don't have to be, you know, go on and on about it, but and nobody will take exception to that. And then just put them in your phone and see if you have them there for the next thing. The other thing I want to talk to you guys about is that I found out that we actually can be a permitted treatment provider for FEI events. So if anybody has interest in doing FEI events, Carrie, you want to get in on FEI? Well, there's an application you fill out. I filled it out and I sent it in, and they sent me back and saying I need to get 2 FEI riders to recommend me, and I need to get 2 FEI vets to recommend me. And then you need to be certified. And with that, I don't know, I haven't been accepted yet. I got through the initial stage, and they sent me back this application saying that I needed to have the 2 references, and then they would let me know in 3 weeks. So, but it does, at least it does look like there's a possibility to be able to be approved in FEI. Now, I don't know if you guys, if you don't know what FEI is the governing body for all equestrian-related horse events. That's the Federal Equestrian International. It's a Swiss organization that is the governing body. And in these really high-end events, they're the ones that, you know, the horses are quarantined into this FEI-controlled area. Nobody can go in and go out. They can't do any drugs. They can't do any medications, nothing. So to be able to do PMF in that environment, and they go in on Tuesday all the way through till Sunday. So to be able to go in and do treatments on that environment would be really, really beneficial. It's not a lot of business because it's a very, very small group of people. Like in a show of 2,000 horses, there may be 40 or 50 horses tops. And those people are usually very hard to get into. But if you have a good client and they go into the FEI, they'll want you to do their horses. And I think it's something that is, it's kind of more of a prestige type thing, is that you say you're treating an FEI, and the people that you're treating in FEI, like the 2 people that I'm having sponsor me are Margie Goldstein and Will Simpson. Both of them are Olympic medalists and, you know, top people. So, but you don't need to have those people to sponsor you. Anybody that's an FEI rider can sponsor you. So, so, you know, Carrie, anybody else that's interested, just let me know, and I'll definitely do whatever I can to help you. You too, again. Now, aren't you more dressage? Don't you ride more dressage, or are you eventing?
Well, I've done a little bit of everything. I currently ride dressage, but I also fox hunt.
Oh, okay.
I've done hunter jumpers. I've done barrel racing. I've done hunt seat equitation. I did all that stuff growing up. So, but yeah, currently right now I'm focused on dressage.
I don't think fox hunters are really going to be much into PMF.
Some of them are.
Are they? Yeah.
Some of them are, yeah, because they've got, you know, really good older fox hunters if they want to keep going, and you know they run them hard, you know. So
yeah.
Some of them have been interested as they start, you know, cubbing and roading right now, just because they're starting to leg up again. but I don't see them as, you know, being consistent, you know, so, but that, cause that's also kind of how they are.
Right.
So.
A lot of the fox hunters, and my wife fox hunted, I fox hunted as a kid, and loved the sport. But a lot of the fox hunters, you know, almost treat their horse like a boat. You know, they just,
Right.
you know, they just take it out on the weekends and run the hell out of it, and then throw it back in the trailer. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
and they couldn't even tell if the horse was sore or not. And polo players are kind of that way too. You know, they're just they're just like a piece of mechanics. You know, they don't, if the horse breaks or doesn't move right, they just get another one.
Right.
But what you're looking for, the key people that are really into PEMF are dressage people, because they spend so much time developing their horse, and for them, you know, movement is everything, and you can really make a dramatic impact on the horse's movement when you treat a horse properly.
Right.
Another thing that I found that has been a bit changed in the protocol from what I was used to doing in our standard protocol is on the neck and the back. I would take the, you know, normally the loops would hang down along the neck and everything. Well, I've been running them across and taking it from the shoulder all the way and tucking, doubling them up the loops and tucking it under the halter and running it that way as a double up, and along the back on the this side of the backbone. And I have found with horses that have neck problems and back problems, after I do the regular way, I go back and I do that on it, and oh man, I'm getting great results. Really great results. So I'm gonna have to do a video on that.
I was gonna say, do a video, because I can't picture how you hold them. Like, yeah.
Yeah, I'll have to do a video.
Squash the length of the long.
Yeah. You don't want to scrunch. You don't want to make it too long and narrow, because that dramatically reduces the intensity. So you want to make it, but just like the top of it, I go from the shoulder all the way up to the ear, and I run it just under the top line, and then let the other loops, you know, hang down about this much, and I'm just like holding it up. It's really hard on your shoulders. You're like, and with their neck, like you start moving, you're like, they go like all over the place. You're like, oh, but you just hang on. And after a while, they're like, oh, that feels so good. And same thing with on their back. I take the side that has the lead, and I put that right on their withers, and I run the back coil along their backbone. Not on their backbone, but on this side of the backbone. I run along like that, and it loops down like this. And horses that have sore backs are just loving it. Oh my God. I had a couple people this last week say that their horse went the best that they've ever gone. And normally these horses with sore backs are just like, they're saying they're just feeling fantastic. So yeah, I'll have to do another little video on that and add that to our add-ons. But I wanted to let you guys know about it. Any questions before we get going on the PEMF for dogs? Carrie, are you going to take a nap there when we get going? All right. I'm going to start out, and so this video section is about an hour, a little over an hour, and it starts out with our original conversation with Kelly, and she's just about to go on stage, so you know, forgive her makeup, but Kelly is just one of the most cool people. We're so fortunate for us to have her do this for us, and it's one of those things that just kind of, we want to do something on dogs, and we're like, Kelly is like the best that we know, and to take time out of her busy, she really spent a lot of time putting the video together and then going through all the stuff that was needed. Our last webinar, install this stuff, and so she really did a great job at I had to borrow a computer, and she really jumped through a lot of hoops to be able to talk to us. So that's why I wanted to kind of let that part go too, because she really has some good tips. But the other thing is that she really not only talks about how to treat dogs, but I think she has some really just great tips on how to deal with clients, how to get your mindset right, and really how to set the environment so that it's compatible with doing a really good treatment. And I've found that your environment has a lot to do with whether or not you really get the most out of a treatment. You can run the loops over a horse or a dog, and you can do okay. But then if you really set the environment and you can really go that next level. So she really has a great approach for that. So with that, I am going to turn this over to Kelly.
So for tonight, what we've got for you is that Kelly has got the PEMF for dogs. She's got an amazing business that she's put together treating dogs and horses. But really, you're kind of the first person to really explore making treating dogs a business. And no, we're still getting the background noise. I'm thinking it's that your microphone is still on your computer.
Just tell me what to. I don't know how to. It's not my computer. I borrowed it.
Yeah. So part of the challenge about having guest speakers is there's a lot of technical hoops that you have to jump through, like getting things going. And one of them is that you have to have a computer, not a phone or an iPad. And Kelly operates her business off of her phone and iPad. So she was able. She's been amazing at jumping through all the hoops and everything to get us to going. So anyway,
your help. Okay.
Kelly, do you want to just give a little background as to the video that you produced and what it is that you do?
Sure. I hope it helps somebody. All of you are so knowledgeable. I really hope I was able to give you some tidbits, but I've been a canine and equine massage therapist for about 15 years. I became a human massage therapist 5 years after I started, and I was a dog trainer for about 10 years. And when I found PEMF, I was astounded at the technology, at how it could be so effective and yet so gentle. I am a very gentle therapist, which is why I feel like I resonate with animals. Doing people exhausts me emotionally, not necessarily physically. And I've always been attracted to things that can be powerful but gentle. And when I saw PEMF, I was floored and astounded. And it took me 2 years to research and get up the guts to make the investment, but I did, and I'm so glad I did. My practice is, now it's about 50-50, but for the past, I'd say 12 years, it was mostly dogs because I've been a dog sport competitor. I do agility and obedience and dock diving with my dogs. And so I was really into the dog sport world. So it was a absolutely natural fit. And I've always been a horse girl, and so it was nice to add horses back into my practice, and that part of it is building more. So the video I made is a little bit about me, and then a little bit about how I run a canine session. I actually treat it the same way as I treat a horse. There's just a smaller body circumference to kind of move around with the loops, but I use the same protocol, the exact same one. The only problem with dogs is that they're way more mobile than a horse will. We cross-tie horses, we have somebody hold them. They're pretty stationary for the most part. Dogs are not.
That's true. That is true. Although we've found that when a dog gets used to it, they really like to just lay on the mat, and they pretty much stay unless you start turning it up too much.
Oh, absolutely. But it's most of them are nervous. You know, if you go into their home, if they're overexcited and it takes them a while to calm down, or the first time, I'm really lucky that I have an office. If they come to the office for the first time and they're prone to bark when they hear other noises, or they think they're at the vet's office and they don't want to settle down, it's really kind of learning how to breathe and be calm and actually let go of the outcome. And that's the biggest thing. If a dog won't sit still for the whole session, it's okay. And the loops, thank goodness, are really long, and I've kind of followed them around the office. As long as I'm sure that the loops aren't what's making them uncomfortable, it's okay if they get up and sniff or if they change position. I do a lot of taking the loops on and off to make sure that that's not the reason that they're moving, and I keep it really low. But learning how to handle them without being terrified, or probably the biggest part is making sure the pet owner doesn't think that their dog is being bad. Everyone wants to make their dog sit and stay and, you know, stop it, you know, and I do my best to make sure that they're comfortable and to know that their dog isn't doing anything wrong, and that they don't have to stay still and they don't have to stay in a perfect stay. And I don't care if they want to stand up for the whole session. And I would say 90% of the dogs learn who I am and learn what's going to happen and come in and lay right down, and every session gets better and better and better. But I would say the overexcited dogs and the fearful dogs are the ones that you have the most problems getting them to lie down and make it easy for you to do a full session.
Do you have any kind of calming protocol that you do with them?
I do. I use essential oils in my office very, very lightly, but it's mostly for the pet parents. I find that if I can get them to calm down and relax, everything goes a lot smoother. It's just the truth. I do a lot of slow, deep breathing. In massage school, when I used to teach, one of the rules of thumb is 1 stroke to 1 breath. So if you can imagine, if you were doing that along the spinal column, you're actually, it's called nerve stroking. And I do a lot of slow rhythmic stroking from the back of the head down to the tail, and specifically to calm. And I also spend the first 5 minutes with my hands on the dog, talking to the pet parent and breathing really slow. And I do a very gentle, unobtrusive, kind of sneaky assessment, where as I'm talking to the pet parent, I'm gently putting my hands all over the dog's body, and I'm doing the calming nerve stroking until the dog settles down before I begin the session.
Oh, that's very good. Yeah, that's great. Now, what kind of conditions do you find pet owners are most wanting you to treat?
Well, I'm lucky being in the sport dog world, like you guys are in the sport horse world. So I do a lot of agility competitors. My goal is to get people to bring them to be for maintenance as opposed to when they're injured, which is, you know, a sad part of the sport animal industry. You know, you want to make sure your clientele is bringing them to you to keep them healthy. But I would say it's everything: arthritis, older dogs, a lot of senior dogs, a lot of dogs recovering from an injury, and then your dogs that are actively competing during the season. In Florida, wintertime is our season. In the summer, people kind of dial back on their showing, and because there's not a lot of indoor places to show. So winter season is where you see the most clientele. And I guess it would be the same it would be opposite for you guys. Summertime, or the people who are up north, summertime is your big show season, and wintertime is the time to hunker down and try not to get them too fat.
Yeah. So do you go to the shows?
I did. My husband and I are really lucky, and for the past couple years, I'm a full-time performer. I actually have 2 full-time jobs, because every time I'm not here, I am with clients. So I cannot get away. It's not a job that I can take off. So for the past 2 years, I've been performing constantly. We do 9 shows a week, but I did for a lot. I would go, while I competed with my dogs, I would set up a booth and do massage at the facilities. But I haven't done it since I've had my PEMF machine. But next year, I'm hoping to travel more and go to some horse shows and some dog shows and get back to being at the competitions.
So that's great. So yeah, Kelly is in the show Guys and Dolls.
Yeah.
And what part do you have?
I play General Cartwright. And for those of you who know the show, Sarah Brown, the lead girl, she's head of the mission trying to convert the sinners, and I'm the mean general. And my husband plays Nicely, who's the gangster that sings "Sit Down, You Rockin' the Boat" and "Fugue for Tin Horns," and he's amazing. I'm the luckiest girl in the world that we get to work together, and I love to hear his beautiful voice on stage. So and that's why I have my hair in pink curls and my microphone on. And actually, in the opening scene, I play an old lady, so I have a big old gray wig, and I spared y'all the wig.
Oh, that's great. Well, I know you need to go on in about 15 minutes, and we've got a video that's awesome and is about, I think it's like 50 some minutes. So if anybody has questions for Kelly, I'm not sure if she's going to be able to join us afterwards. So if you guys have questions, now is the time to ask them. Just go ahead and put them in the chat box, and we'll try to get to them. If we can't get to them and they have questions that come up, we will answer them by email and everything. So
absolutely, message me, email me, ask me anything. I'll be happy to answer. I taught canine massage. I certified people for many, many years, and one of my greatest joys is helping in any way that I can. And I will try to jump back on. I have a big break in the show, so I think by the time you guys are finished with the video, I might be able to catch the tail end. So I'll try to jump back on.
That would be great. What is your email, just for everybody?
Sure, it's the letter K, as in Kelly, kdogmassage@yahoo.com. And I forgot, because of John's amazing technology, I can type.
Kelly, thank you so much for putting this together. I know this is a big thing to do for you, and you've got all that stuff going on, and you did an awesome job at putting together a video. And that we really, really appreciate it. So,
well, I learned so much from you guys. I'm so grateful to be a part of this. I sit backstage and I watch all the replays because I can't be on live, and I don't know how to say thank you. So anything I can do for you guys, and I look forward to hopefully meeting all of you guys at some point and talking to you regardless.
That's great, Kelly. Go break a leg. Isn't that what they say?
Yes, you're right. Absolutely.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Kelly. I'm really excited that John and Sherry asked me to do this. It's such an honor to be part of this amazing course, and I'm learning so much from all of you. I can't thank you enough. They asked me if I would come on and show you a canine session. The majority of my practice is canines, but I would say equine is getting up there at the moment. I just don't have enough time to go to multiple barns, so I'm affiliated with a couple, and definitely looking forward to building more of my clientele as the year progresses this year. But I'll tell you a little bit about myself. And this is my girl Kai. She's an 11-year-old Australian Shepherd, and she's actually never been to my office before. So this is going to be really interesting to see how she reacts. There's really no reason to take her here because there's no place to put her while I'm working with other clients, and so she's having a good time. She's having an outing with mom. But anyway, I'm Kelly Legoretta, and I have been a canine and equine massage therapist for about 15 years now, maybe a little more. My husband and I are also professional actors, and we've been working for over 25 years professionally. It's been pretty amazing, and I met him on a theater contract. I grew up riding and training horses and being a dog lover and always wanting to be a veterinarian. I was determined to go to a college with an equine program as well as a theater program, but that didn't really work out, and I ended up going for just theater. And when I was on my way to New York, and I had my actors union card, my equity card, and I met my husband, and that changed, life changes. And he was the artistic director of a theater, or he became one after we got married. And he asked me, there was only one union theater here. A union actor can only work at a union theater. And I knew I wasn't going to work there every show for the rest of my life. So I gave up my union card so I could work at other theaters along with him. And he said, is there anything else you really ever wanted to do besides acting, since we really don't want to be away from each other all the time, traveling to New York and things like that? And I said, I've always wanted to work with animals, and I've always secretly wanted to be a massage therapist. That was actually going to be my actor's side hustle. I didn't really want to be a waitress, but I wanted to work helping people and being holistic. And I thought that would be a really great way for me to have as my side job. I started researching, and I found the Rocky Mountain School of Animal Acupressure and Massage, and the fairy dust fell from the ceiling, and I was so excited. I'm like, this is me, massage therapy, animals, this is great. So I went out and I got certified. It was actually a really tough course. At the time, it was 7 days, large animal, small animal, massage, and acupressure. That's a lot in 7 days. I did study for a year before I went out to take the hands-on course and testing. And I was really surprised that it was really difficult, and a lot of the actual massage therapists that were there were dropping out of the course. And I always felt like I needed more of a therapeutic background, but I started my business and it went really well. And at that time, I also was getting a lot of behavior calls. People were asking me, you know, what you can do for behavior. And I thought, oh, I love doing this. So I became a dog trainer as well. I went out and got certified. And so I did massage and training in dog sports. That's how I fell in love with dog sports. And since I fell in love with dog sports, I wanted to do more for the animal athletes for massage than just therapeutic. And so I decided it was time to go to really get my human license, and I did, and I'm so glad I did. I learned so much, and it kind of made things fall into place. Most people do it the reverse. They're human therapists and then they go get certified for animals, but I did it the opposite direction. And at that time, the school that I had been to had also developed their programs more, and they had split it. So now it was small animal, therapeutic massage level 1, sports massage level 2, senior massage level 3, and the same thing with the equine program. And they also had a separate acupressure program, and I wanted to be part of this so badly. So I contacted the school and the owners at the time, and I said, you know, I'm alumni, I love it, I want to take more courses. Can I assist? Can I observe? Can I? And she said, you know, we're looking for a teacher in Florida. And that totally came out of left field. And she said, you said you just got your massage therapy license. And I said, I did. And she said, well, if you're interested, we'd love to have you. And I couldn't believe it. So I went back and I took all the courses and I got my teacher training and I became the Florida instructor. So it was actually really neat. All of the instructors taught in Colorado, and I taught everything here in Florida. And I'd always had a dog training center, so I had a place for people to come, and the classes were intensive. The canine was 4 days each level, the equine was 5 days each level, and I taught them all back to back, and I learned a lot. The best way to learn something is to teach something, and so I loved helping people begin their careers in animal massage. The only drawback was that I've still always been working full-time as an actor, and it's a lot of time. It's a lot of time preparing for the course, being the sole person who handles all of the paperwork, testing, evaluating, you know, helping people on their individual journeys. It was a lot, and I really didn't have a whole lot of time for my own practice. And that was okay for the 6 years that I taught, but towards the end of my stint teaching, I just really missed my own clients and my own practice. I just didn't see them enough. So I decided to stop teaching for a while and devote my time to that practice. And somewhere in that time period, I had an equine practitioner talk to me about PEMF, and I was really kind of impressed with it. I've always been a more gentle therapist, which is why I resonate working with animals so much. I do trigger point therapy. I'm certified in canine, and I'm actually currently getting my equine trigger point therapy. And on animals, it's a little different. We never go past the pain threshold, but I've never been the kind of therapist that wants to work incredibly deep. There are amazing therapists out there that do that, and their gift to pain relief and getting the muscle to relax is amazing, but that's not the kind that I'm attracted to. And when I discovered PEMF and I realized what a powerful technology it was that could do more than my hands ever could, and be gentle and relaxing and make a being feel as good as they do, I was like, this is me. This is totally me. And I actually took my husband out to see the machine work on a horse, and he was astounded, and he's a skeptic. He was like, what are we doing? Where are we going? What are we looking at? And when he saw the pulsing of the horse and he saw it work, he didn't know what it was. You know, he said, if I saw you put that on my horse, he goes, you would be my therapist. And I'm like, you don't even know what it does. And he's like, exactly. He's like, you need that. And that made me laugh. And so with his approval, because it's, you know, it was a big investment, I decided to get it. I financially, I had to wait to I decided that I wasn't going to do dog training anymore. I wanted to focus on my massage clients. I did many years working at the Humane Society way back in 2009, and then again a couple years ago. And it's hard work. It's really hard work. I was the education and training director and the volunteer coordinator, and it takes a lot out of you. And I guess that's what made me realize that I needed to take a break from that aspect of my job, and focus on more of the things that kind of fill my cup and make me happy. And so I've always been a teacher at heart, and maybe someday I'll go back to it, but right now I'm having a really good time. I'm doing 2 amazing jobs that I love. I get to perform 9 shows a week, most of the time with my husband, and then I see clients every other waking minute. So it's been pretty amazing. And my office, complete manifestation of abundance, hi Pumpkin, is that when I gave up my training studio, and my husband was actually on the national tour of the Wizard of Oz and I was alone, I said, I have to find a small treatment office, because once I got my machine, I realized I needed to have an office again. I couldn't be mobile because I was spending all my time in the car. I had to have an office where people and dogs could come see me again. And so I manifested, I said it has to be close to the theater, or it has to be close to my home, because I have to be able to get home to my dogs and take care of them or get to work without traffic. It's not a job I can be late to. And so, lo and behold, I never knew I've been working for this particular theater for almost 15 years, on and off in the past, but full-time recently. And I never knew that there was a wellness spa upstairs. And the gentleman was who owns a cafe downstairs and was leasing a room. And I called him and I said, you know, I'm a massage therapist, but my practice is mainly dogs. And he was so fascinated, and he knew what PEMF was. And he said, come on and see the room. And I did, and he leased it to me. And it is in the shopping center where our theater is located. So literally I come here, I see clients all morning, and then I walk next door and do a show, and then come back, see clients possibly, or go home. And the only drawback, sometimes I have a little extra makeup on when I see my clients, but they all understand. But it's amazing. Both my full-time jobs are in the same shopping center. So it's absolutely incredible. It's amazing what you can do when you put out into the universe, like, this is what needs to happen to make everything fall in line. So anyway, so here we are in my beautiful little office. I've been here a little over a year. I found it a few months after I got my machine. So I have the EQX, which when I start working, you'll be able to see. Many of you guys have been doing this for many years. I hope I can give you something that you can take away. I'm going to start working on her in just a minute. I throw in a few tidbits from massage that I do, some remnants from when I taught massage, things that make me feel comfortable in connecting with an animal. The only drawback, not a drawback, but the only huge difference I see, I do the exact same loop positions on dogs than we do on horses. The only difference is that dogs aren't still. Horses, most of the time, they can be cross-tied or held by somebody if they can't be cross-tied. But dogs, they don't stay in the same position. They're wily, they get excited, they get nervous. You know, having an office is a wonderful thing, and there's also many cons to it, because first-time clients don't know what's going to happen. They don't know if they're at a vet's office, and people are walking outside. There are other therapists in this entire office, and it's not always the most conducive to being calm and relaxed. And so being able to work with a dog and let go of the outcome, I feel, and the outcome of them being able to sit completely still for an entire session, I believe allowing the dog to be a dog and doing everything you can to get them to stay with you and be calm and relaxed and get the most out of their session. But you can't expect them to lay completely still. And also, I never want the pet parent to feel like their dog is being bad, ever. they're just being a dog and they're nervous. They have no idea what I'm doing. Now, don't get me wrong. My regular clients are like, massage lady, you know, and they come and lay down, roll over on their belly or go right to sleep. And so, I mean, they get the drift. But I don't want everybody to be frustrated if a dog won't sit for an entire session the first time. So I'll give you some handling techniques. I'll give you some of the ways I start and end a session. I probably won't do a complete PEMF session on Kai just because you don't need to see the same thing you've seen on a horse, but I'll show you how I put the loops on and some of the extra positions and how I get through a session. So I'm going to stop the video now because I'm having problems uploading it. So John and Sherry are going to help me with that. And then I'll be back in just a minute. Okay? Okay, we're back. So people always want to know where should you massage or do a PEMF session with the dog. And I always say it's up to what you have available to you, and it's also up to the dog. I do have a massage table that I will put pups on, but I prefer to only do that at events where I know things can get a little crazy. Sometimes it's a little easier to put the dog up on a table where there's less circumference for them to try to get away from you. But at an agility trial with a really hopped up dog, that gives you another problem of trying to keep them on the table and make sure that they don't jump off because they're really excited, because the last thing that you want to do is an injury from a dog jumping off the table and hurting themselves. So I really only use tables at events, or for example, there's an Airedale Terrier client of mine that is real nervous when she's on the floor, but she's so used to being groomed so frequently that if you put her on a table, she's like, oh, it's a grooming session and we're fine. So I just actually make sure I have a table for her because she's much better. That situation to her just seems easier. Hi, Punky Doodle. I do have a stool in my office, a rolly stool. For dogs, bigger dogs that don't like to lay down, I'll sit on the stool because it's easier on my back. When I do a session, normally I sit with my legs out like this with the dog in front of me, and I just try to be careful of my lower back. But if I sit with my legs crossed, they inevitably fall asleep. So this is my favorite way to hang. And if the dog wants to lay down in a bed, they're more than happy to. Most dogs, once they get to know what I'm doing, will lay down right in front of me like she does. And I'll adjust the camera angle a little bit better when we get down to actually do a session. So it's really up to you and the dog. When I go to people's houses, they're like, where do you want them? And I say, wherever they're most comfortable, a bed, a couch. I'll sit on the couch. The things that we have to do when working with dogs is really take care of our bodies because they really don't make it easy. When I taught the massage courses, I would be amused when all the students would sit with their backs against the wall and, trying to have good body mechanics and then expect the dog to come lay right there and not move for the entire time. And I was like, I wish it was that easy, but it's not always going to be like that. So finding a comfortable way to sit, stretching, breathing, grounding, taking deep breaths. We got to keep our bodies healthy. It's not always the easiest, but I will sit on this rolly stool and I love it because it rolls and I can kind of scoot around if the dog walks just a little bit. But wherever you're most comfortable is totally fine. There's no rules. Kai has a harness on right now, and I'll probably take it off because she's going to sit with me. It's okay to leave collars on. It's okay to leave harnesses on. It's okay to leave the leash on. Just be careful if you ever get nervous that you're not holding the leash too tight and, causing a little bit of pressure on their airways. I don't mind if the owner helps me hold the dog. I just want to make sure that they don't worry about if the dog is doing something wrong. There's a great term, I think it's called uncluttered contact. If you have pet parents that like to talk a lot, sometimes you have to gently set boundaries if you don't want to talk. An example is that Kai is a great demo dog in massage school because if the students were extra nervous or not focused on her or asking too many questions or just nervous, she would get up and walk away. But if you focused on her and you were breathing and you had your intentions in the right place, then she was out like a light and the best dog. So it's okay to talk to pet parents if you want to, especially since some of you just do PEMF and not massage. It's, there's not a whole lot that you're doing other than observing the dog with the loops on them and making sure, watching their reactions and their releases and their comfort level and things like that. So, setting boundaries, a lot of times I'll tell the pet parent, I don't want you to think I'm ignoring you. I want to focus on your dog because sometimes their reactions are really slight, but they're very powerful, and I want to make sure that I don't miss it. So I don't want you to think that I'm not talking to you. I'm just really focusing on your dog. And that kind of sets, instead of saying, don't talk to me. You know what I mean? And so it sets it up to let them know that you're trying to be quiet on purpose and that you're not ignoring them. And I always say, if you need to ask me a question, you're more than welcome to. I recently, it's behind the camera, but I just got a TV in my office. I was hemming and hawing about whether I should put another electronic device in my office, and I'm a little sensitive to that sort of thing. But sometimes I feel people are uncomfortable just sitting in those chairs watching me work, so I have cute puppies and calming music, and I wanted to be able to put on healing frequencies from YouTube, and I'm getting a DVD player so that I can play whole tones. So when I have clients in here, I have the chair over to my right here. I have the chair pad. I wanted to be able to set the frequencies to whatever their issues are, so that could be playing while they're getting their PEMF therapy. And I do use aromatherapy in my office, but it's very slight. Dogs have something like billions of receptors versus our millions in their noses, and so I'm very careful with what I use. Sometimes the oils are more for the people than the dogs, so I'll strategically put one by the chair I know they're going to be sitting in. I think if we're all calm, then that really helps the animal as set the mood. Back to equipment, harnesses. The only thing that I'll take off if I find that I don't need it is a harness, but I'll always take off a prong collar. My fear is that I wouldn't want a dog to get accidentally corrected if he moved away from me really quickly. I don't want them to have any negative associations to getting worked on by me, so I just make sure that, and like I said, leashes and collars and harnesses are fine. I just work around them, but I'll take everything off, especially since we're in a very small area. There's not really a lot of places they can go. My office is only like 300 square feet, so that's the benefit of having a smaller office. I have a bed here. I keep blankets. I have pee pads in case I have a dog that has incontinence issues. I've worked on many dogs with some form of paralysis or loss of use, and so it's no problem to put a pee pad under whatever we're working on. It's not a big deal. It never bothers me. Sometimes pet parents are embarrassed. It's okay, and I try to tell them it's okay. Whatever your dog does is fine. I just want them to feel comfortable, and if we don't get through a whole session today, it's fine. They'll get used to it, and we'll work on it more. I do everything I can, to give a good, complete session, but there's no right or wrong their dog can do with me, as long as they don't bite me. I watch their body language, and we're gonna be fine. I have only had one dog where they were just too frightened of the loops, where I just put my chair pad on the floor and we laid on the floor and got a session that way. And I've also done an older dog who mom really wanted her to have more of a massage than PEMF, but I felt like she would benefit from PEMF more, so we did the massage on the chair pad. So that works too, and you can put a blanket on your chair pad or just set that on the ground. The chair pad is just skinnier than buying the actual pet pad, so when you have a big dog, you kind of have to like slide them on to make sure that they don't fall off. But that's it. I have two tips to give you that have really helped me out. So this is an interval timer. It's called a Gym Boss, and it's purple, just like me. If you noticed, I like purple. I'm sad my office isn't purple, but when I got it, it was like this really nice shade of green on the walls. I'm like, oh, I like that. But anyway, this is an interval timer, and I bought it off Amazon, like $15, something like that. And I liked it so much, I actually got another one in a different color. This is my horse timer. This is set to buzz on vibrate. It has a beep too, but obviously I want the vibrate because I don't want to scare any of the dogs. This is set to buzz every 2 minutes for 30 minutes. So 15 times 2 minutes a buzz. And I love it. And then my horse one is set to buzz every 2 minutes, 30 times. So it's an hour session. And I wear it on my belt, or sometimes I'll clip it here. The only difference wearing it here is because I never want dogs are more sensitive to sounds than the horses are. Usually there's a lot going on at a barn and they don't really hear the buzz, but it goes and I don't ever want it to mimic the sound of an electric collar or an e-collar, and also sometimes it just scares the dogs. So depending on the dog, unless I really need to see it, I usually clip it on my belt or behind me so I can just feel it buzz. And this is amazing, especially because I do massage and PEMF, I sometimes get a little lost in what I'm doing and I forget to move the loops. So the little buzz just reminds me, just scoot the loops back to the next position, and then I can keep working on the area that I'm working on. So this has been a godsend. It's called a Gym Boss. Interval timer, you can get them off Amazon. They come in many colors, and I even bought the accessory set. There's a lanyard and an armband and blah 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 in case I ever needed to, what I was wearing wasn't working, or I couldn't feel it or hear it in my clothes or things like that. I know those of you who work up north, if you're wearing tons of clothes, you might not be able to feel it buzz. So being able to have it close to you or on your arm so that you can see it might help. So anyway, so that's my little interval timer. And they're really easy to set. This one I actually set for an event. I was doing 5-minute demos, and I tend to go really long because I always want people to get a longer session. Like, I'm so bad with that. I'm like, just sit a little longer. But it was so busy, and so this really kind of kept me on track with doing PEMF demos for 5 minutes. So so my little gym boss timers are great. Starting a session, I wonder if I can get her to move back with me. If a dog has a sit or a down, you can always ask, but I don't harp on it for 2 reasons. I don't want the pet parent to feel like, again, their dog is doing something wrong. Some people really think their dog knows sit or down, and they really don't. And it's okay. It's okay. But we can always try. Yes, I have cookies in my office. No, I don't keep them in my pocket because some dogs are really food hounds, and that just drives them crazy, and then they can't settle down at all. And so I'm going to see if I can get her to move back with me so you can see. She's actually being really good. It's early in the morning, so no one's in here. She's probably going to start barking if people start coming in and out. But the way that I open a session is a remnant from my acupressure days. So I always do 3 Effleurage strokes. Sorry, I have hair in my lipstick. 3 Effleurage strokes, which are long strokes with a flat hand. Great for warming up tissue, great for flushing tissue to get lactic acid out of the area, especially when you've really been working on something. But I always do 3 Effleurage strokes along the Bladder Meridian. And I do this to open the dog's body energetically to receive treatment. And so the meridians in horses, dogs, people, they're all the same. So the Bladder Meridian, for those of you who don't know, and if those of you who know acupressure, forgive the repeat, but I think this is really cool. Your Bladder Meridian starts in the corner of your eyes and goes up over your head, down the back, down your back, kind of laterally, out your legs, and then out your pinky toe. It's the longest meridian in the body, and the cool thing about it is that along either side of the spine, it has all of the association points for all of the other organs. It's called the back shu points, SHU. And depending on what type of acupressure you are doing, I don't do a whole lot of acupressure. I just keep some of the master points in my back pocket for like big pain points and stomach points and things like that. But along the back shu points are every organ system. It's like the master point to every organ system. And so it's like the breaker box. You're flipping all the breaker box switches to open the body to all of the other meridians. And so even if you weren't doing acupressure, it's a nice way to get in touch with the dog. And also there's a specific massage called a nervous system massage that's very calming. And I tell people whose dogs are nervous at, vets' offices, or even coming to the office, or if they're nervous, that doing long Effleurage strokes down either side of the spine will definitely help calm their dog, because you are literally stroking the nervous system. Remember, fast strokes are invigorating, slow strokes are calming. I've had the privilege of working with many dogs in shows, and I was a consultant for Toto on The Wizard of Oz and Sandy and Annie, and one of the Dorothys that was holding the Toto on stage, she thought she was keeping him calm by scratching him the entire time, and he was not having it. He was wiggly and trying to get away from her, and he didn't want to be with her on stage, and they're like, Kelly, what can we do? And I was like, well, let me watch. And I was like, well, this is the reason. So I had to really work with her, and it was also a nervous thing for her. I was like, you either got to hold him and not touch him, or you got to do long, slow strokes. And it was really something that she had to practice, because it was a nervous thing on stage, and he was just going wild. He just couldn't take it. So I completely understand. And also, when you're thinking about massage and doing things 1 stroke to 1 breath, so I can't imagine an animal not calming down if you're literally moving in rhythmic moves 1 stroke to 1 breath. Usually everyone in the room will calm down like that. So Effleurage strokes along the back is a great way to calm them down. I also try to keep my hand on the animal as much as possible, just like a horse. You really don't want to break contact, but you do what you can. You know, your intention is there. And so I do 3 Bladder Meridian Effleurages from the top of the head, down the back, and out the pinky toe to open the breaker box before I begin any kind of session, massage or PEMF. And then I do 3 at the end to close the session. And it's really neat. The dogs begin to kind of understand, oh, she's beginning, and oh, it's over. And I've had dogs wake up out of a deep sleep at the very last Effleurage stroke at the end along the Bladder Meridian, like, we're done. So that's always great. Before we begin any session, I created an acronym when I used to teach group massage classes for regular pet parents, and I always say to check your list. And L stands for love. Always check your love, because we love what we do and we love our animal. I stands for intention, and I really think this is half the battle. What is your intention for the session? Is it to connect with your dog? I mean, this is talking to pet parents. Is it pain relief? Is it relaxation? Are we focusing on an injury? But check why you're doing it, and it's also a good way as a practitioner to check in with ourselves, just to remember, you know, that we need to be focused on our animal and our job, and let things go at the door or the barn door or the stall door, you know, that sort of thing. The other thing was surroundings. Horses, it's pretty given where you're going to be working on them, but if you have a nervous horse, you're not going to work on them in a big traffic area of the barn. Dogs, you know, if there are children running around, if it's a busy time of day at the office, you know, what can you do to help make the surroundings as conducive as physically possible to a massage? And the last thing is your touch. The T in list is touch, is to make sure that you're confident and gentle. If you're nervous or not breathing, the dogs will know it. They also know our intention the moment they see us too. But making sure to check your touch to make sure that you are sending signals that you got this and that you're never going to hurt them and that you know what you're doing, and to trust you is really important. So check your list: love, intention, surroundings, and trust. And then we can begin the session. So I'm going to stop this one more time and get set up to do a PEMF session on Kai Kai. Okay. All right, guys, we're back. So I'm going to take Kai's harness off because I don't think she really needs it. So she's probably going to stay with me. Hi. And I turned the video a little bit, so I might not be looking right directly at you. Hi, Pumpkin. She usually pretty much knows the drill, but you can usually ask her to lay down. You can lay down that way. Awesome. Just out of camera reach, so I'm going to slide her back. There we go. You're such a funny monkey. So Kai is 11 years old, and she is a retired agility dog. She's done many sports. She's played a little bit in flyball, and she loves to swim and dock dive, and she loves frisbee. She has a couple issues. She had some knee surgery. She has border collie collapse, which is where something is going on in her nervous system that makes her have a seizure when she gets overexcited. So her sport career is kind of done, but she's still a high drive monkey, and we play as often as we can. I need to actually massage her and do PEMF more than we do. But she's never been to the office, so hopefully she'll lie still. But usually I spend a couple minutes just kind of like saying hello and running my hands all over them just to see, you know, their reactions and how they feel, and if I get any paniculus response. And paniculus response is that twitching, you know, when a horse twitches his shoulder to get his fly off, that's a paniculus. But you can actually get it when there are areas of tension. So usually check her back along the spine. I'm getting a lot of paniculus response here, so she's got a lot of back tension. And I will also, while I'm doing this, I will do my 3 Effleurage strokes along the Bladder Meridian to open her body for treatment. It's just a habit. I've done it for a really long time, and it's a really good way to connect with her. While you're doing a massage, you are looking for the same things as you would with a horse. You are looking for lip licking, yawning, releasing, passing gas. All of those things are great signs of energy moving and stress being released. And also usually in the session, I will turn my machine on so they can get used to the noise. And that way, if that bothers them, they have a little while to get used to it. Make sure my machine's turned down. And then when I'm ready to begin the session, I'll usually press my little button. This one is set again for 30 minutes to move the loops every 2 minutes. And I'm not going to do a whole full session with you, but we're just going to get an idea of what's going on. So Kylie's down pretty easy for me, but again, it doesn't matter what she would be doing. If she wanted to sit up, if she wanted to move around, I would do my best to keep her with me, but my little stool is rolly, and thankfully the loops are long, and so we can usually get a good session going. But I'm going to use the medium loops on her, but I'll be honest with you, the smaller loops would work on her too. They just wouldn't cover as much of a surface area. It's really cute to me when I have tiny itty bitty little dogs. I work on a 4-pound agility Pomeranian, and the loops cover his entire body. It's adorable. But what I'll do is I'll just move the loops in smaller increments down his back. And so, usually just nonchalantly place the loops. I start in the same positions as you would a horse, right over the shoulder positions, and I start real low, and she doesn't seem to be bothered by that. Like I said, Kai really hasn't had too much PEMF, especially a whole body session. I've done, I think, a little piece of you now and then. But I'm looking for all the same things. I don't necessarily, with dogs, I feel like dogs are just a little more sensitive. And so I'm not necessarily looking for the pulsing to be happening right off the bat. If I don't think they have any reaction to it whatsoever, I'll turn it up slightly. But as long as I can feel it in my hands, I think we're doing pretty okay. Oh, I already got a big yawn, and her eyes are going sleepy. Does that feel good, my pumpkin? I love you so much. So when my little buzzer would buzz, I would scoot it back down to just behind the shoulder. And then again, trying to cover all of the surface area of their body and their back. You see her get real still. So their eyes say everything. She was like, what are you doing? And then I would continue to move the loops down her back. So dogs sometimes will lay down flat, and obviously I can't get to the hip that's on the ground, so I will do everything else that I possibly can before I ask her to move. The dogs don't care what order we do it in, and in reality neither do the horses, as long as we're covering all the big muscle groups. But having a system or protocol really helps us make sure that we don't forget anything, and so that's absolutely what I try to do. So after the next back position, I'll move it down even more. And now we're covering her lower lumbar and lower back. And then I'd move it back down to the hips. Oh, and now I'm getting some pulsing, definitely. So, hi, does that feel good? So I can gently see her little hair moving and getting some pulsing in her bicep femoris. And it looks like it feels good. She's giving me slow blinks, and she's easily panting. She doesn't look uncomfortable. And we got some lip licking. And I love that she's tuned in. She's totally tuned into me right now. But that relaxed face is something that we really, really want. And I got more lip licking. So it's the same stuff that we're looking for with horses. So you want to lay down flat? You can. You can do whatever you want. So after I moved back again to cover the hamstrings, after I did my 2 minutes in this position, I again would take the loops and make sure that it's turned down before, because they're stronger when they're together, and I would lay them over the big area of her leg. So I love this position on dogs because they're so small, is that the actual strongest part of the loops is actually covering her stifle, touching her stifle, and I think that's really great. So the stifle is the weakest joint for a couple of reasons. The main one being that all of our bones in our body fit together like puzzle pieces, all of them. Everything else intersects, interlocks, and they kind of help stabilize themselves, except the stifle joint. They're the only bones in the body that actually sit on top. So the femur sits on top of the fibula and tibia, and there's nothing that they lock into. So the things that hold it together are those ligaments and the ACL and CCL on the inside, kind of like a thread holding them together. So that's why they're so prone to injury. And same with people, same with horses. And usually, not always, but a lot of times when the dog has an ACL or CCL problem, it usually means that the other side is taking the brunt of all of the issues, and that they are most likely going to have issues on the other side too. So that's always a really hard thing. So being able to do PEMF therapy to both sides in order to keep both knees strong and healthy is really, really amazing. So she laid down. She's actually really liking this. And there's a couple ways I can go after this. I can, since she's still lying upright, sort of, not directly on her side, I can actually kind of fit the loops in to do her other hip. Or if I really want to target the psoas muscle underneath, we don't do this position on the horse because I think it would be too dangerous to get in that area. But just like we slip the loops up over the front leg on a horse, you can actually do it to them as well. So I'm just gonna, hi, she says, what are you doing, mama? I was trying to put your other leg through. So, and then we can slip it on here, and really target that psoas muscle and all of the adductors, and you're really getting really good pulsing on her hamstrings back here. So, dogs carry 60% of their weight on their front end, and their back end is for propulsion and pushing forward. And so I work on a lot of dogs with those adductors and those hamstrings really tight. So we can do this position. Oh, I got some lip licking, and her eyes are really sleepy. Oh, it's a big yawn. That all means stress release. That's so good. It's so good. You're such a good girl. I'm just leaving it here because she seems to really like it. The other leg is her surgery knee. And so this is the knee that takes all of the compensatory issues. Another thing about dogs lying on their side is that the amazing thing about our system is that it goes a foot or 16 inches into tissue, which means that, God forbid, I couldn't get the dog to get on the side that I wanted. I know that this is going all the way through. And if I really didn't want to make a dog move, sorry, but I'm not going to make a 16-year-old lab that is finally settled and comfortable get up just so I can do the other hip. It's just not worth it to make them get up. So I will take the loops and I will do every position I possibly can think of to get in there, knowing that the PEMF is going where it needs to go. Another safeguard that we have is that the body has a mirror reflex, meaning anything that you do to one side, the body sends the same signals to the other. Isn't that nice to know that, you know, if you couldn't get to one side, or let's say the dog had a cast or the horse had a cast, that it's okay that you don't have to massage right over the area, that the body is going to send the same signals. So that's a great thing. Now, if I wanted to get down the leg, if I wanted, like, let's say they had a paw injury, you could sandwich the leg between the loops if you wanted to. Just like that, or you could just lay the loops right on the injury. And you can, I keep my small loops nearby, so in case I need to switch apparatus and get the smaller loops, I absolutely can. So after I finished, we did shoulder, and then just behind the shoulder, and then mid back, and then lower back, and then hips and SI joint, and then glutes and bicep femoris, and then a little bit back on the hamstring, and then double the loops over the back leg, and then the arm through the hole position, I don't know what else to call it, for the psoas. So I've done all of those, and then I would probably, because she's still sitting like this and I want to take advantage of the position that she's in, I would go back and I would put the double loops on her shoulder, or do the same thing, do the same thing so that we can get in there. So you're getting her pecs, her biceps, her subscap underneath, and obviously her biceps and triceps, and all of the deltoid and the inverse spinatus and supraspinatus and everything in that area. So her whole shoulder junction. And she doesn't really seem to mind it being under her arm. I'm not too concerned about their paws. If they don't like their paws being touched, I just do the very best I can. I'm sure if I had the paddles, it'd be a little bit easier to do their paws instead of trying to maneuver them around the holes, but someday I might invest in the paddles. But for right now, I do the best I can with either sandwiching the loops or just laying the loops on top. Hi, how is that? So since she's still laying like this, I would come back and take advantage of doing the other shoulder. Do you know how much I love you? What a good girl you are. I would go ahead and do the other shoulder while she's still sitting up in this position, and you can rub them and scratch them. I mean, if dogs like their ears being scratched, you know, in order to make them feel better when you're working on them, or if they're nervous. You know, I do a couple of dachshunds, they're both dachshunds, ironically, but they need to eat a Kong while I work on them. Not the best situation. Same with horses eating hay. You kind of would rather watch their reactions to make sure everything's going okay. But if the horse just won't stand still, I mean, there's no reason why they can't eat hay or the same thing, a dog eat a Kong. The only thing I ask is that if they're going to be territorial or resource guard the toy, I don't want them to think I'm going for the toy if I'm working around. So those are the only dogs that you know, you just kind of have to do what you can if they won't sit still, but they are a resource guarder. But my 2 dachshunds will happily eat a frozen Kong while I do a whole PEMF session, and that's fine. So after the shoulder position, I'll do the same thing. I will try to get her paw in and kind of Punky, hi, and get the shoulder apparatus in there. I love Bug. And it's on, the machine's on really low, I want to say. Oh, that's my girl. Oh, and she flipped over. I was going to show you how to get him on the other hip, but she actually rolled away from me. So since she did that, I would take advantage and I would do that hip and that leg. Let me turn the machine off for just a second. If the machine was up higher as I did the sessions, I would definitely turn it down as I moved it and gently turn it back up. So it's really nice to sit close to the machine, but it was on so low that I don't think turning it down any farther would have made a difference for her. It is absolutely okay to let them get up and take a break, especially at the beginning, especially if it's a dog that you don't know. It's fine. As long as they don't think they're going to pee anywhere. I'm not really worried about anything. And also, pet parents are notorious for not letting their dogs pee before they bring them up to your office or before letting you work on them. Say, oh, we went before we left. Or, oh, they were outside this morning. No, give them a chance to potty. I've been on the massage table and all of a sudden my body's like, whoop, and then you have to pee. And I know it's horrible to get up off the massage table, but sometimes once you relax, your body really starts working and you really need it to give it the chance to go potty. So it's okay. If I thought she was circling or dancing, I'd absolutely take her out and let her go potty and come back. I'm going to show you how to get them to lie down on the opposite hip, but I'm trying to keep these little videos under 15 minutes, so give me 1 second and I'll be right back. Okay, we're back. So Kai has a tendency to lay like a sphinx with her butt straight and lay straight out, but if I wanted her to lay on her right hip, what I would want to do is turn her head this way while I asked her to lay down. Kai, lay down. Lay down. Lay down. This way. So, hi, I know. Oh, you're a good girl. So if her head goes this way, she's going to be laying on her left hip. So she didn't do what I wanted her to do. But that's a little tip when you're asking her to lay down. Kai's really kind of easy. You can, I can actually, she's a little movable. Hi, Pumpkin. She's a good, you're my good girl. She's easy to flip. She's easy to flip like a pancake. That's a technical term, the pancake flip. But an older dog or a dog with an injury, I'm not going to do that to. So what I can do is I can take advantage of her. Hi, silly girl. Hi, silly girl. Hi, my love bug. So I get you lay down flat, and then as long as we don't twist her back, and we can just flip her like a pancake, and now I have the hip that I want. She thinks I want to play. But that is not the easiest way to flip an older dog or a dog with an injury. So what you want to do is you want to ask them to get up and reposition, or just do what you can from the way that they are. So again, she didn't do it. She didn't do it. But if you're a dog, if you ask them to lay down, if you turn their face to the right, they will most likely lay on their left hip. If you turn their face to the left, they'll most likely lay on this hip. And so that's just a little maneuvering tip that I can give you, getting them to lay down, and being able to scoot them around when they're on the ground helps too. So going back over the positions with my loops. So after I finished everything and I've done all the positions, you can do the necklace position with them. They look like a space dog, but you can absolutely do that. You can always pick the loops up to reduce the intensity of it. I normally wouldn't turn it on with it on her, so just gonna turn it back on. We're gonna try that again. Yay! How was that, space puppy? And if you wanted to, if they're having ear issues or sinus issues, sometimes separating the loops and putting them up by their ears, that's a great way to do their face. A lot of dogs don't like to have anything covering their face, so maybe squishing the loops like around their cheeks if you're worried about that is a great way to get that done. So I know you're doing so well. Yes, you are. I remember we talked about intention in the list. I said, you know, check your list. So, so if a dog is having an organ issue, you know, a liver issue, a bladder issue, sometimes knowing where that organ is in the body, you know, I'll look up pictures of them just so I can either keep it in my brain, and also if I want to do extra positions with the loops, I know where to lay them. So that's part of it. But Kai, can you come back? Come here. She's like, no, I'm done. She's like, you stopped paying attention to me and we got up. So that's okay too. Kai, come here. Good girlie, good girl. So when you think about your 30-minute session, so we did loops here, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, thigh, 12, psoas, 14, other thigh, 16, psoas, 18, and then shoulders, 20, and then 22, and then the other shoulder, 24, and then the shoulder apparatus, 26, and then the neck, 28, and then any other positions. I was counting in 2-minute increments. And you don't have to stick to the 2-minute rigid increments, but if you're trying to do a whole body session on a dog, that's usually the way to go. It only helps because the loops are so big and you just cover more body area that way. So, you know, 30 to 45-minute session is fine. And if you can get them to lay down on the pad, you know, 30-minute session, as long as they'll lay down on the pad, that's, you know, the most that we can ask for. So that's basically a canine session. You know, I try to make the area as conducive as possible. I try to help the pet parent be relaxed so they don't have to worry about what their dog is doing. I watch their facial expressions and make sure that their eyes stay soft and comfortable. If they're frightened or anything, I back off. In canine body language, it can be very, very, very subtle. A tight lip and a hard eye is something that you never want to see. If a dog freezes and looks at you, you'll know when that happens. You definitely want to stop what you're doing. If at all possible, you want to keep your face away from the dogs. Part of the problem with working with dogs on the floor, and they don't make it easy, is you have to lean over them sometimes, and you never want to put your face near a dog that you don't know, because it's a very threatening position. The statistics of children being bitten in the face are so high merely is because that they're literally face height to the dogs. And so when a dog turns around to bite or nip and their face is right there, and that's sadly one of the reasons. Most of the time it's fear-based. No one has ever really called on me to work on an aggressive dog. One time, it was a Saint Bernard, and it was very aggressive, but he had a horrible neck issue, and the vet was having a hard time handling him. And this was way before I had my machine, but I wish I'd had my machine then. It would have been so much easier to work on the dog without having to physically, you know, touch him or handle him. The vet suggested, can you get him a massage to relieve some of the tension in his neck? And we had to muzzle him and hold him down. And I said, this just isn't, it's not worth it. I mean, he's going to injure himself more trying to get away from me than the massage would ever do. And so other than that situation, I've never really had an issue with a dog that was aggressive. Most of the time they're going to be fearful. And if you go slow and you take your time and you release your expectations of what should be happening, and just work with the dog. I mentally tell all dogs, I'm here to help. You don't ever have to be afraid of me. I'm not ever going to hurt you. Please communicate with me, and we're going to be just fine. And so the hardest part, I think, really is juggling how to be personable and attentive to the pet parent without making them feel isolated. I think that's probably the hardest part of my job. You know, when I go to in-home visits, sometimes they just go do their own thing. And when I'm at my office, they're kind of stuck because I don't want to make them step outside for half an hour and then come right back. And so, I've really never had a problem. I'm just trying to think of, you know, the things that I worry about. I'm empathic. I want everyone to be comfortable. I want my dog to have a great session, and I want my pet parent to feel loved when they're in the room with me, even though I'm not paying attention to them. So like that's my own issue. But those are the hardest things that I juggle. And also I have a tendency to book myself too close together. Sometimes a dog needs extra time to settle down. And so I need to try to give myself a buffer in case we didn't get started right away. But that's it. That's all I can think of. Being flexible, being able to move with your dog, not worrying about them staying in the same place all the time, watching their body language, keeping the machine low to their comfort level, just like you would a horse. You know, one of the benefits about teaching canine and equine massage was that I was pretty up on my anatomy when I was teaching, because I was always trying to help other people remember, and sometimes if you don't use it, you lose it. So, you know, I just bought myself an equine coloring book, and I have a canine one I'm going to be redoing in a little while, breaking out backstage, so I can color and just kind of keep up with learning anatomy. I'm really good with the muscles. I want to learn more about the nervous system and that sort of thing. So I continue to take courses. I'm taking 50 online courses right now, and I love every minute of it. I'm really excited. The show I'm doing right now gives me, I have a small role, so I get to sit backstage. That's how I'm catching up on all of the webinars, is backstage and funny makeup and wigs, just going, oh God, I gotta go on stage, but I want to hear a little bit more. So it's the only time I'm actually forced to sit down. But that's all I can think of right now. I'm excited to, I think we're going to do a Facebook Live where I can answer any questions that you guys have. I hope this helped a little bit, and I'm so excited to be here and so honored to be part of this program. I love my job. I'm so grateful that I get to do it every day. I get to do all the things that I love, and that's it. I'm just a lucky girl. So from me and Kai, we say thanks, and I'll be talking to you soon. Okay, bye.
All right, what did you guys think of that? Yay! Isn't Kelly great? She is so special, I tell you. I love watching that. Some of the things that I get out of that, and this is the third time that I've watched that, and there are really, I love the things that her list things: love, intention, surroundings, and touch. That is a really good thing. As I've started doing more treatments again, I've realized that you really do need to kind of set the each session and start each session as its own little capsule, and not bring in any baggage that you had on the previous session or what was previously going on. And that list is really a good way to remember that. But I thought Kelly does such a great job at just giving you the full picture of what it's like to treat dogs and do it as a practice. So, do you guys have any questions? Are you ready to go out and treat some dogs? Mm-hmm. So a couple of things that I thought were really great, and maybe on the test, I don't know, I don't want to give away the test, but that list is for sure one of them. And then that mirror reflex, I forgot that one, and that's that, you know, when you do something on one side, it transfers to the other side. I didn't remain. That was a new one that I picked up this time that I didn't last time. But that's a good thing to remember, and that the stifle is the weakest joint. That's a good thing to keep in mind. And as you look at as you do, I find it's really helpful to look at anatomy and look at pictures. Like when I was going to go treat bulls, for example, I had nothing about bulls or how they're built or anything like that. But what I did do is I looked at the anatomy and specifically what the muscles were, where the muscles were. And so it was, once I looked at that, I was like, oh, okay, so that's where I really need to treat. And for bulls, they really run along the back end of the back of the bull. And that, you know, was for sure, once I started getting to know them, where they're sore. So if you want to treat dogs a lot, you should look at anatomy of dogs and just see where those muscle groups are and how the skeleton fits together. So knowing that the stifle, you know, really fits like this as opposed to being, you know, locked into a joint, that really helps get a picture of how you want to send the magnetic field in and where the tensions are going to be and the potential for injuries. So that's a really good one. I found using the leg in the loop for horses, where the leg is inside the loop and the loop goes around their stifle joint and then around their hamstrings. Boy, if the horse is okay to do that, that is just a real game changer for some of these horses that have rear end problems. I've seen big improvements on that. The problem is that if they're really sore there, you put their rear leg in there and they're like, oh, so you really got to make sure. I had one horse that literally keeps his leg up. This is a 18 one-hand Grand Prix jumper, and he literally keeps his one leg like that's in the loop up, and he leans his body against the wall. And while he's doing it, and he doesn't do that for anything else, but when I put that rear leg in there, and it's on pretty low, but it's still pulsing, and to see him like holding his body, his gigantic body up in the air like that, but it's really helped him. And getting back to the dogs, the one thing you really got to keep in mind with dogs is that they are way more sensitive than horses and more sensitive than to people. You just really have to keep it low and just turn it up very, very slowly and really watch their reaction. If you start getting their reaction of like if they're wanting to get up and walk away, that generally means that it's too high. So keep in mind that the pulsing, it's going all the way through, and you don't really need that much power. You know, especially a lot less than people. And these little itty bitty dogs, you know, it's like, you know, had this little tiny dog that could basically go inside of a small loop, and I just turn it on, and it was just so low, but you could tell like some of their parts were pulsing. So I'm like, okay, and he got a lot of benefit out of it. I'm like, is this thing even really on? But results that it got were really great. So, and then the other thing is, she wrapped it up. She was talking about going slow and releasing your expectations. I think that is really important, no matter who you're treating or what you're treating, is just going slow and allowing the because you really only have three variables. You have time, intensity, and the frequency. And your frequency and intensity are kind of tied together if you're on a spark gap. But so it's the time, and if you're on a schedule, like you've booked it too close, or you're really trying to stay within 2 minutes, you just really need to let go of that, the time expectations, and you'll find that, you know, especially when you're treating, you know, an animal and you're really seeing they're being challenged, sometimes you just have to just stay there a while and just let it work its way out, and as opposed to trying to hurry it. And a lot of times I'll find that, you know, I'll do 2 minutes and then 4 minutes and then 6 minutes. And I'm like, gosh, is this area ever gonna release? And I'll just kind of like, well, I'm just gonna stay here until we find some sort of release. And as soon as I release my expectations, it's like the dog or the horse will then get a release, and you'll see like, oh, you know, and whatever they were holding on to has kind of broken forward, and you get that release that you're looking for. So the really good practitioners, really great practitioners, are looking for that release from the animal and seeing that. Now, there are some situations, some animals that, you know, you're just not going to get the release that one session. There's just too much cellular damage that you know, and so you have to take it in increments. And but if you release the expectations and just try to do your best and having the intentions, I think going back to the list, having the intentions, finding out from the client what their intentions are for the treatment, and then setting the proper expectations of, you know, this isn't going to be a miracle. You know, this isn't a miracle cure. We're not going to, you know, cure, you know, a chronic thing like right away. But if you set your intentions and your expectations, and then you just release your need to you know, do something right away, the sessions always seem to turn out to be the most that they could be, whatever that is, you know, and a lot of times that's completely out of our hands. You know, we're just being the conduit for the healing. So, and then the other thing that I noticed is that I love about it is that she says mentally she tells the animal that she's there to help. And I find that when you walk into like a horse's stall, or if you're treating a dog that's somewhat fearful, if you mentally tell them that you're there to help them and that this is going to make them feel better, it's just amazing how often that will just relax them, and they'll be like, oh, okay. And like they can really pick up on it. And I even tell them, you know, I love you. I'm here to help you. Everything's going to be okay. And like she said in the oops, that's my timer. The potatoes are done. Okay, honey, the potatoes are done.
Not the cookies, John?
No, we haven't even gotten to dinner yet.
Oh my God.
Oh, it's crazy up there. We've got my mother-in-law who's got in a wheelchair and she's got cancer, and my son and grandson, and Samantha is missing in action. Who knows where she is? And everyone wants to see the baby, and I don't think Samantha is still gotten here yet. Like, and I only eat once a day. I'm going to tell you this. I only eat once a day, and it's dinner, and it's almost 9 o'clock, and I haven't had dinner yet. So sometimes I get a little hangry, you know? You know, hangry?
Yeah, you mean grumpy.
That's the combination of between hungry and angry.
Yes. It's grumpy.
Well, the plan was I was going to put the recording on and then go up and eat. I go up there like there's not even any food made. Like, when is this going to happen? I'm starting to grill. That's it. I'm starting to grill.
There you go. What time's dinner?
It's not for a while. I'm telling you. I might be McDonald's.
There you go. That's funny.
No.
Anyway, your grandson's beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, I got to tell you, I got to brag a little bit. You know, if you're a grandparent, you can't brag on your kid. So this morning or this afternoon, I picked up little Oren, and he's just as big as a football right now. I mean, he's like tiny. He's only this big, and I'm holding him there, and he loves to play with this, and he's holding this and everything. He's playing with this, and I'm talking to Samantha. I don't know what we're talking about. And I look down, he's looking up at me, just smiling and looking at me. And I look down like, oh my God, isn't that the coolest thing I've ever seen in my entire life?
That's awesome.
Yeah, seeing it. I think it was the first time I've ever seen him really smile. Could have been just gas, but, you know, I'm taking that as a smile.
I would take it as a smile, too.
Yeah. Yeah, he's really cute. He's a really cute kid. And he just is constantly.
He's a talker, huh?
He's just always going. Always going. So do you guys have any questions on treating dogs? Nope.
No, but the one thing that she promoted, that Gym Boss, I got one of those and I love it. The timer, the interval timer.
Yeah.
I love that thing.
Like Jim, G-I-M?
GYM, Gym Boss.
Like a gym.
GYM.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
I every time I watch it, I'm like, I'm gonna get one of those things, and so yeah, I am gonna get one of those.
Yeah. I got mine off of Amazon. It was awesome.
Yeah.
I love it.
I use my phone, and my phone dies, and it's not good, to be constantly. I think really when you're treating a horse, you should really leave your phone. Should not connect, on your phone at all, because it's amazing how
Right.
using it as a timer that, oh, I got an email, oh, someone texted me, oh, someone just called. It's like, and your focus really just goes totally away and disconnect with the horse. And one of the things that was like, I was really impressed with Kelly is that you could just tell how connected her and her dog were. And when you have that connection, it's a personal thing. And I truly believe it helps so much when you're treating an animal to be connected to them and feel, what they're feeling and to see what they're experiencing and to be able to help them. And horses are super sensitive that way. They can feel when and when you're connected and when you're not connected. And show horses, if you're dealing with show horses, you'll find that show horses are really tuned out, because most of the time, at least hunter jumper horses, because eventers not as much, and Western horses I'm not as familiar with, but hunter jumpers are so often cared for by, people that it's their job and they have a ton of horses to take care of, so that there's no connection there, and they are completely tuned out. And I find that when I go into, especially like this one, the horse that keeps his leg up, his name is Quattro, and he's a big time, like he's going to the Pan Am Games. He is a big time Olympic level horse. And I can't tell you the love that I feel from that horse. It's like I cannot see him for a year, and then I'll walk into his stall and he is just like all over me. Like while I'm treating him, he literally like grooms me, take his nose and rubs it up on, up and down my arm, and will rub my back and everything. And it kind of tells me like where on my body where he wants it, and he does this little thing with his nose, back and forth, on my back and up on my neck and stuff like that. And when I get done, he like looks all over like, oh, thank you. Like I've had horses that I literally haven't seen in a year, and I'll walk down the stall, the aisle, and they'll start nickering to me. And like horses will really, really connect, especially the professional horses that are so disconnected. If you can come in there and connect with them, and they will not forget you. And they absolutely love you. And to me, that is like one of the biggest benefits of this whole thing, is feeling that connection, feeling that you have really helped that horse. And sometimes an hour of your time and your attention has helped that horse more than what you're doing, with the PEMF. So it's one of those things that just really, really be aware of. And Kelly does an awesome job at talking about that. And I think dogs are like, I had a friend that says that, dogs are like walking hugs, they just, really are walking love all the time. And if you show that and respect that back to them, if you're going to do dogs, then you have the potential to really have a super connected and really special relationship with these dogs. So, that would be one of the great things of going with a dog. And like Veronica, I think you would do really well with a dog practice. And it's something that you absolutely can do in your home until you get to the place where you have enough of a momentum, then get a small office like Kelly had. I think having a small office would be ideal because it's neutral territory, and you know, if a dog does, you know, pee or whatever on your carpet, if it's your office, it's not that big a deal. You know, you can have tile floor or whatever, you know, but if it's in your home, well, that's maybe a little more, you know, but yeah, Kelly has a really nice setup there with her office and everything. So, oh, the other thing I wanted to talk about, yeah, Carrie, you have a question?
Yeah, we just wanted to ask, do you know if Kelly has like some type of information sheet that she gets them to fill out of their dogs, like an intake form or something that would be behavioral stuff to not, you know what I mean? To know that you're not grabbing toys or anything like that. I wonder, does she have anything, or it's just all verbal when she first meets them?
I don't think she has anything written. I think it is verbal, but she did give her email. You feel free to email her and ask her, but I'm pretty sure she does not have a written form. But that would be a really good thing to have, especially with dogs, because they can be behaviorally, you know, a little bit different. And because you're right down there with them, if they are a biter, then that would be something you really want to be aware of.
Something that you worked on, or I worked on, we know. A file.
Yeah. The more you work on, and it's also good to ask, you know, are there any behavioral issues that I should be aware of, or health issues, or, you know, and I think that kind of goes along with her list thing of you know, setting the intentions of what you want out of the session. You know, like, why are you here, and what do you want to have accomplished? And that really kind of goes right into the whole thing of, like I asked that in doing their horses, you know, what's your horse's job? What do you want to have accomplished? What are the things? And then I really set the expectations of how many treatments are reasonable, because a lot of times, well, I didn't say a lot of times, but sometimes people think, oh, one treatment is just going to like cure everything in the whole world, you know. And you're like, no, this is, you know, this isn't magic. This is, you know, it's really kind of nature. And if they have, and I've described, you know, in this way to a lady who was at the horse show, and she's there for a championship, and the championship class is on Saturday, and here we are, you know, on Wednesday, and then she's asking me, well, you know, is one treatment going to be enough? Is one, you know, what do we get out of one treatment? And then after the first treatment, I said, well, you know, your horse is really, really sore. As a thoroughbred, you could tell that like the shoulders and stuff were probably chronic soreness for maybe going back to as far as racing. And I said, you know, one treatment is going to get them good, two treatments is going to get them better, and three treatments is going to be best. But there are some chronic things here that you're probably not even going to fix in three treatments. But you're going to be a lot farther along in three treatments than you are in one. And it's going to last a lot longer. And then when you kind of put it that way, they're like, oh, okay, good, better, best. I like that. I want to go for best, you know? Okay. So I said 3 treatments for $250 and 1 treatment's for $100. And almost always they go, okay, I want to do 3 treatments, pull out the credit card. And then I, you know, schedule it right then and there. I put it in my phone, and now I'm doing the appointments as an appointment in my Google Calendar. And so I'm like, okay, I got you at, you know, Wednesday at, you know, at 2 o'clock, Thursday at 10 o'clock, Friday at 10 o'clock. And boom, it's right in my calendar, and with their phone number and everything. It works great. I mean, I get up, you know, in the morning, I look at my calendar, there are the appointments. Like this week I have 20 appointments already. And I know who they are, what barn they are in, and what their phone number is, and all that. In the morning, I text them all, "Hey, I'm going to be at your barn at 10:15," and they text back, "Okay." And you know, so the first 15 minutes of my day, I've texted everybody that I'm going to do treatments for, and it's just so much more organized. So I think with using Google Calendar and Google Contacts, and email, that system really is unbeatable.
There you go.
One thing, we only got about 5 minutes left, so if you guys got questions, just put them in the chat or whatever. But I do want to go through a little bit of the case study that I did with this lady named Roxanne. She had one of the first pulse centers, so she bought pulse center equipment. They set it up for her to be a pulse, like it was going to be like a pulse center franchise. So her name of her company, her thing was actually Pulse Centers, and it was very confusing because I was like, are you guys Pulse Centers? Are you owned by Pulse Centers? It's like, no, an independent, and she's in Chattanooga, and she does people. She has her own store, retail. And so we identified that as a problem, and she decided that it would be better to rebrand. So I rebranded her completely, got a new logo. Her new name, because everyone was talking about Pulse, so her new name is Pulse One PEMF, and on her website it's Pulse One PEMF of Chattanooga. And we got a really nice, we kept the light blue color the same and had a nice brown logo. Sherry did the logo, and then her website had a lot. It was done by someone who had no idea what PEMF was at all, and it was really, really technical. I mean, and the front page had paragraph, the standard pulse center pictures of people getting treated. And it was very much like, what is PEMF and the science of PEMF, and what are treatments like and all that stuff. And while I was trying to fix her SEO on her thing, I crashed her main page. And the WordPress websites are supposed to have this thing where you just have this, go back and back it up. But the people who built their website didn't have that. So I crashed their main page, and like all of a sudden I'm like, oh crap. I don't have, now I just totally lost her first page. And I'm like, oh, now what do I do? And so I really wanted to kind of start over with her anyway. But I just made it really, really simple. The first thing is her logo, and the next thing is, welcome to Pulse One PEMF. I'm Roxanne Clark, and it really tells, just really basically about what it is that, her unique thing is that when people come in, she really makes them feel comfortable and really, takes a personal interest in their whatever is wrong with them and how to treat them. So she's really, really friendly, and she's really, really caring. And so we just made that front page really just about that, like, welcome. When you come in, it's like really, really simple, and took out all of the PEMF crap and had one little call to action. If you'd like more information, put your name and your email in, and then we'll send you my welcome series, which is 4 emails. And I have a format on this welcome series, and it basically takes you through, who I am, what I do, why I do it, and what you can expect, and in 4 basic emails with some testimonials. And then at the bottom, it's like, and call me to book an appointment. But we had 2 call to actions: put your email in and call for an appointment. And they're just really, really basic type of, I'm getting a thing saying my email is, or internet is unstable. Am I waffling? Or can you guys hear me okay? Yeah.
A little bit.
All right. So my point is that what I did is I took her website and took it from being very technical, very cold, stock photos, to being just as bare bones, simplistic, really friendly, and call me for an appointment. And since we did that, she's really gotten, well, her web traffic is up since we rebranded and we changed the website. Her web traffic is up 77% in 1 month. Yeah, and she has booked 7 new appointments. And she had not gotten any appointments off her previous website. So, and we've been working with her for about 6 weeks. And then we started doing, we got her clients and we put them into an email list, and we sent them 4 emails and then another email newsletter. And out of her 136 clients, 3 of those have come back and re-engaged for more PMF and signed up for more packages. And so that basically did cost her nothing, and she was able to get 3 more. And then out of those, those 7 new prospects, she's got basically 2 of them have like whole families that need help. So just in very, very, very small numbers, she's been able to really get people converting. Oh, and she's had 11 new people sign up for her emails. And out of those 11 new people, 4 people have become, out of those 11 people that have gone through the Welcome Series, 4 of them have signed up for treatments. So she's getting people to put their name in and get emails. She's getting the people that get the emails to call her up and make appointments, and 100% of the people that call her up to make appointments are coming in and booking packages. It just shows that just in really, really small numbers, she's increasing her traffic, increasing prospects into clients and converting them into paying customers, and then taking those client customers that had kind of gone away and bringing them back. And that, in a nutshell, is really what it's all about in terms of like building your business. And if you can do it in small numbers, then you just need to add more traffic and build those numbers up. Because if they'll work in small numbers, they'll work in larger numbers. So, but if you can't do it in small numbers, you're not going to do it in larger numbers. You got to work, no matter where you are, you got to get that process down. So, so anyway, if you want to see what it is, just go to pulse1pemf.com and check out our website. You can see it's basic, but it's converting. So it just shows you really, really. Oh, and we've taken her Facebook page from 700 likes to like 925 likes. But interesting enough, her Facebook page really has been kind of filled with people because she was Pulse Centers. Like these people that liked her page are from all over the place. Like half of her web traffic was from China. It's like, how are these people from China ever going to come to Chattanooga to book an appointment? So you really have to make sure that the traffic that you're generating on Facebook are going to be paying clients, and that you do it on a very, if you're in a local market, that you stay locally when you're targeting your Facebook post stuff. So that's the Pulse One story. It's a good one, and she's really making a lot of progress. So if it works for her, it'll work for you too. So Roxanne's really a nice lady. Check her out, see what she's done. So any other questions? I'm thinking that dinner's almost ready.
Yeah, and cookies.
I'm hoping. Yeah. I know. Well, you got to get through dinner before you can get cookies.
Yeah, that's true. But the cookies be warm then.
Yeah. Yeah. So next week is our final live class. This class really is kind of left open, and it's really going to be for whatever is that you guys want it to be. We've had this will be the third one, so the two previous ones have been two very different ones. The last one, they really wanted a lot of information on like competitive analysis. What's the difference between pulse centers and magna wave? What's the difference between high intensity and low intensity? That kind of thing. So we talked a lot about that. That's in the replay. So if you guys wanted to do that again, I'd be happy to. But if there's other things that you want to talk about, I'm more than happy to talk about whatever you guys want, assuming I know anything about it. Just let me know if you've got questions. If you have specific things, it'd be great to email me so I can make sure that I'm prepared. And so it's the final week, so make sure you get all those questions out. After that, you know, I'm always available on email, so it's not like, oh, I'm going to go away and never hear from me again. You can always get a hold of me in email, text, phone, whatever. So I'm always around to make sure you guys are getting your questions answered. So with that, anything more? You guys good?
Good.
All right. Well, thanks a lot. PMF for dogs. It was
Yes.
fun. And I thank Kelly so much. She was really great.
Yeah, she was.
So, all right, you guys have a good one. Go
Thank
treat
you,
your dogs and cats and horses.
Yeah. Thanks, John.
All right, see you later.
Good evening.